right, what's up, y'all? We are live, and we've got some questions that we're going to answer, and if we have anything else that comes in, then we will address those as they come in. And let me just get some things set up here so I make sure that I'm referencing these questions right. All right, and then as always, you know, this video is recorded, and by the way, if I'm sitting here talking and you can't hear me, let me know. But this video is recorded, and we'll have this as a future resource, maybe even post it on our social media channels, who knows. All right, so so starting out, you're totally what? Brandon was wearing this shirt this morning too. That's so funny. All right, cool. So before we get into the stuff that we need to get into, I just want to say thank you to the people that are in this group, because you know, this is such a great support system for the people that are here, you know, and regardless of whether you're like liking or commenting or posting, just being a part of this and watching it and learning and implementing this stuff in your own life, you're the living example for a lot of other people. You're an inspiration. I know a lot of people benefit from what goes on in this group. I know I don't do a whole lot. It's everybody else. Like, everybody's doing so much great work in here with the posting and the sharing and the commenting. I know behind the scenes people are messaging and helping each other. So it's such a great system of support. And again, regardless of whether you're actively participating or you're just watching and following, I just want to say thank you for being a part of it. Like, it's been really great, you know. And then also, we are here to help. Like, we're genuinely here to help. There is a lot of love and support behind the scenes here. That's what this whole thing is about. You know, we've dedicated our lives to a life of service, and we are here to help. We really want to help. So most people are completely confused about what they need to do to be healthy. And then we come into something like this, and our goal is to clarify the confusion and bring people confidence in what they're doing so they don't question what they're supposed to do again. None of us are going to be perfect with it, but we all want to know what to do. And once you understand what to do, it's very difficult to unlearn that. And so we are here to help. All right. If you need help, reach out for support, use the group, reach out to us independently, privately, whatever. All right. And I will try not to read too many of these comments, because I'm gonna start laughing as I'm going through this. Thanks, man. All right. Hey, what's up, Pam? All right. So, and then I also want to welcome our new group. So we have a masterclass that just kicked off this past Saturday, and I think we had about 65 or 70 people in there. Maybe a third of them, a quarter to a third, are veteran SHT people. And that means we have a lot of new people in there, really exciting, getting some really good feedback, having a lot of difficulties, you know, people's first couple of weeks eating real food. So that's to be expected, but we want to welcome this new group into this group and just into the SHT way of doing things. It's exciting. I mean, we live for this kind of stuff, right? So I'm going to go through the questions that we had, and then if we have anything else that pops up, then I'll try to address that. When we maybe keep this to like 30 minutes or something, who knows. All right, so the first question was, Eric Mason asked, what are some alternatives to white rice and yams as far as safe starches go? So a really good resource for the safe starches concept is a book called The Perfect Health Diet by Paul Jaminet. Paul Jaminet is this paleo-ish kind of guy, but he's one of the first guys that made this really strong argument for the benefits of eating carbohydrates, which is, you know, one of the reasons that we see some benefit. We just have our little strategies around carbohydrates. And so remember why we call these things safe starches. The reason that they're safe, or relatively safe, is because they don't contain anti-nutrients. And then, you know, ideally we're cooking them in the appropriate fats, and they're starchy versus sugary. So we can see some potential problems with sugar versus just starch. And so what I would say to answer that is, first of all, I can't tell if you're just asking for variety or because you're kind of burnt out on the sweet potatoes and rice and you want something different. Or what the deal is with that. But first of all, within the sweet potatoes and yams, there's so many different varieties. I'm always having like 3 or 4 different varieties going in my house at a time, depending on what I see in grocery stores, right? So maybe just experimenting with trying different types of yams and sweet potatoes to see how you like those. And then keep in mind, we have access to all the potatoes. I would do potatoes organic, by the way, because they're usually on the EWG's Dirty Dozen list. But in the potato realm, again, we have like new, baby, russet, Yukon, Idaho, you know, all those different varieties. So I would experiment with those. And then I would also experiment with you know, spicing them up in different ways, you know, like making mashed potatoes with cream and butter and just adding different spices and seasonings. But then we also have things I think a lot of people haven't experimented with, like cassava, taro, these ancestral tubers. If I'm not mistaken, I did taro last year and it was awesome. Like I oven baked it. No, I boiled it, took the skin off, cut it in half, put some cream cheese in it. It was freaking amazing. It had just a slight, subtle, different taste to it. So maybe picking, and in the guide we have these listed out, right? Maybe picking some that you're not familiar with. My favorite is plantains. I absolutely love plantains. You can buy plantains in the store green, or you can buy them really dark brown, and that's a little bit more ripe and sweet tasting. You put them in the skillet, cook them in butter. They're freaking amazing. You can make plantain pancakes, which I made over the holidays. That was just basically plantains mashed up with some egg yolks, and then I threw a little bit of bacon powder in it and mashed them on a skillet, and they were awesome. So, and then maybe a little bit starchier. We don't consider them our safe starches because they're not like super starchy, but things like squashes, like spaghetti squash and acorn squash and stuff like that. So, not sure if that's what you're asking about, but let me know if you need any more clarification than that. Maybe check out Paul Jaminet's book, Perfect Health Diet, and just experiment within those different varieties. All right. All right. And then I think Eric Mason also asked the question about, you know, if you're looking at produce, is it true the darker the vegetable, the more nutrients? And I think typically in nature, like bright, dark, vibrant colors do direct us to nutrients, right? That's what attracts a lot of animals to different things. That also includes smells. But you know, a lot of time color directs us to flavonoids. So a couple of really good resources as far as books go would be Deep Nutrition. I can't remember the author, but it's one of the books that I read a long time ago, and it had such a powerful impact on me. And then also the Walls Protocol by Terry Walls, which was a MS patient that was in a zero gravity wheelchair, and then through real food, she ended up like she's running marathons and doing TEDx talks and all kinds of crazy stuff. And so, and most, you know, holistic health nutrition experts and functional medicine type people are going to advocate what's important is getting a broad spectrum of nutrients in balance. And then within certain vegetables, the brighter the color, the more potentially, you know, vibrant and healthy it is, and the better the nutrients coming out of it. But typically what we're looking for is greens, you know, things like spinach and kale and arugula and mixed greens. And then we want things that have bright colors. And those bright colors direct us to flavonoids, and they're also usually an indication of polyphenols. And so just experimenting with going in the grocery store, I would say something like Whole Foods is great because whatever is available, what you see out is usually relatively seasonal. And then just going towards the brightest stuff, the colorful stuff, and just experimenting with incorporating that in the diet. Terry Walls also recommends having a lot of sulfur-rich produce, and that includes things like onions and garlic, and I can't remember some of the other things she had in there. Well, cauliflower and broccoli and things like that are in there, but definitely the onions and shallots and garlic and leeks. And so this is why we came up with the Bobar salad. The Bobar salad, I'm not sure if many people know this, the reason we came up with it was because it was an autoimmune protocol salad that was designed to get a broad spectrum of nutrients and also enhance brain function, which is why we also feel so freaking badass when we eat Bobar. But the Bobar has green, color, and sulfur. We recommend having the Bobar with a handful of greens most nights, and that gives you a lot of variety. So I hope that answers the question. You know, think about like when we purchase eggs, we get conventional eggs. They have that really pale yellow color yolk, and if we get pastured egg yolks, we get that really deep dark orange. So more nutrients, right? Maybe the same thing in the plant realm. The brighter, the deeper the color, the more potential nutrients. But I think it's also important to get variety, and then also stepping back, looking at this big picture, that the ultimate goal is just to eat real food. And almost irregardless of nutrient density of specific plants, we just want to make sure we're eating plants. We want to make sure we're eating meat, all right? So I hope that helps, and if you got any other questions on that, just let me know. Eric Mason. So the next one is, oh my God, the cold and flu thing. I got to grab a drink of water for this. This is going to take a little bit. Hold on. Oh. All right. Make sure my thing is going on again here. Can someone just tell me if you can still hear me okay? Because I just unplugged my mic and plugged it back in. Somebody, anybody, tell me you can hear me. We're about to go into some powerful information. Anybody? Can you hear me? Ryan, you're right next door. Hello. If you can hear me, message, please. I accidentally unplugged my mic. Can someone please comment? What's up, Ashley? Can someone please comment and let me know if you can hear me okay? Ryan, can you hear me?
Yes, but it's like on a delay.
Okay.
It's like a 15-second delay.
Well, but when you hear it clearly, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool, because I just unplugged my mic and plugged it back in. All right. Let me know if I'm just talking and you can't hear anything on there.
Yeah, no, you're great. It's just like delayed.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's talk about, I guess, this whole idea around getting sick and prevention and what to do when you get sick. So what we're going to talk about today, I'll try to keep it short. You know, prevention may not be the big silver bullet that everyone thought, as far as like, you know, all the different protocols and things like that. But what to do once you get sick, like there are some legitimate things that we can do when we get sick to kind of mitigate how long we're sick and how intense we feel these subtle symptoms and things. So I don't know if anyone remembers, but years ago, every year we would do this really massive like talk and workshop around colds and flus and the immune system. And in that talk, it was really educational. You know, I'd go through the non-specific resistance barriers, you know, like mucus and sneezing and coughing and the digestive system. And I'd go through non-specific innate immunity, like the little patrol cars that are going throughout the body, you know, trying to neutralize different pathogens and things. And we talked about specific adaptive acquired immunity, which is our memory system, you know, which builds up a response to a specific invader. And then next time that invader comes in, you know, we have a built-in response for it. So we went through all kinds of detailed information. We had pages of handouts of protocols of essential oils and supplements and there we go. Wait a second. Sounds good. All right, cool. Third time. All right. So we went through, we had pages, and I still have that if anybody wants it. You know, we had pages of protocols for supplements, essential oils, you know, bone stock, kombucha, and all this other stuff. But here's the thing that we've realized over the years. And this is why I haven't really done a big talk on that anymore, but I meant to do something simplifying things right now. There is no amount of essential oils or supplements or vitamin C or bone stock or kombucha that is going to undo or overpower a bad diet and not sleeping and not mitigating your stress and not getting sun most days and not working out most days, right? There's just no protocol that's going to fix that. But the goal for prevention, what's going to make you the healthiest and give you the strongest immune system, is being healthy all year long. And what you're going to notice is the healthier the person, the less they get sick, or the less often they get sick, and the less time they are down. You know, so really it's a question of, you know, frequency, like how often does it happen to you, and then intensity, like how hard does it hit you, and then also duration, like how long do you stay out because of it. And again, the healthier people that have been building a very strong body and resilient immune system throughout the year are the ones that you just don't see getting sick that often or that much, and they don't stay out that often. I also want to say it's very important to understand that if you get sick, that does not mean that there's something wrong with your immune system. Getting sick is actually a clear indication that your immune system has the strength and the power to deal with something. So it's actually beneficial to get sick. Again, it's just a question of how often does it happen, how long does it take you out, and how intense is it. You know, what's ideal is you get hit with something and then you're out for a day or two and you come back and you're back to normal relatively quickly. And if you're not, then there's maybe something going on that you need to address, you know, immune system related or foundation related is what we usually say, you know. So again, like we used to have these elaborate protocols for people when they got sick. And I just think that eating real food all year long, optimizing your sleep, getting sun most days, getting sweaty most days, like Colby says, doing a little bit of meditation and mindfulness to mitigate stress is the thing that's going to build a very strong, resilient immune system, because it's really about the terrain. It's really about what is our body capable of dealing with, versus like when you get sick, what are all these different, like, you know, silver bullet kind of protocols to help you get through it. So just to go over the basics again, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but you want to eat food, real food throughout the year, and focus on nutrient density. And you want to focus on nurturing self-sufficiency, which is our term for metabolic flexibility and fat burning. And we have our different ways of doing that. That's very healthy, right? It's less damaging to the system. Space is very healing for the body. So the more that we can nurture that within what we feel comfortable with, I say for most people, it's like, 2 or 3 meals in a day, 1 or 2 or 3 meals in a day, and then experimenting with fasting here and there. That's going to be awesome, right? So that's going to be extremely helpful over the long term. And then we have to, as far as food goes, learn to incorporate over time as we become veterans. Now, if you're starting out, your focus is just getting the basics right. But as veterans, we need to start incorporating superfoods, nutrient-dense superfoods like organ meats, bone marrow, bone stock, a lot of the things we cover in our superfoods class. And then, of course, like you're trying to optimize sleep. You're trying to incorporate some kind of meditation and mindfulness to mitigate stress to the best of your abilities. And then, once you get sick, then it's just there's a few things we need to be aware of. Now, in the cold and flu season, why is it that everybody's always getting sick all the time? I think it's mainly because most of us are always indoors because it's cold, and we're just exposed to a lot more stuff. And then, I think it's very important to wash your hands as often as possible. I'm not a big fan of the antibiotic type stuff or the sanitizers, but just generally washing your hands with whatever soap is available, because the way that the cold and flu virus are spread and get into your system is through your nose and mouth. That's the bottom line, right? So the less that I can touch my face after I've touched other things, the better. Or if I can just at least wash my hands before touching my face, which it's hard to remember. Like, I try to pay attention to it as much as possible, but like, if you work out here at the CrossFit Combine, you're in here crawling around on your hands and knees. Everybody's sharing germs from everything, and by the way, everything is everywhere. If you think you're escaping it, like you're not, right? I mean, people are coming from the bathroom, coming into the gym, walking on the floor, coming from outside. We're doing our hands and knees and touching everything. And so you just have to be very aware of that and try to wash your hands as often as possible, especially before touching your face, right? And then again, just building a resilient immune system the rest of the year is the way to go. Now, once you get sick, the most important thing for you to do is to rest, right? For some reason, when we get sick, and I know the feeling, you get out for a few days and you're missing your workouts and like you feel like you're losing everything. I get it, like I'm there, right? But you cannot force yourself to go to the gym and go through a brutal workout, right? Think about supporting your body's natural ability to heal itself, right? If I am, you want to rest, right? if I am going in here, and in fact, like I got sick for a couple of days, I had like this kind of really tired body ache thing going on. It was right before I left to go see my father and family over the holidays. And I did that brutal workout where we had squat cleans and strict toes to bar. And immediately after, I felt that little scratch in my throat, right? So the things that are going to suppress the immune system are going to be, first of all, just eating crap food all year long, right? Hopefully we're not doing that, or we're trying to mitigate that to the best of our abilities. But then not sleeping is going to suppress your immune system. Brutal workouts are going to suppress your immune system big time. Now, if you're healthy and you're well rested, a brutal workout is great, because you're looking for that adaptation response to the brutal workout. That's what's building you and making you better. But if you're on the verge of something, or you have something and you do a brutal workout, or if you're on the verge of something and you do a brutal workout and you're exposed to something, you have a suppressed immune system, right? So that's another thing that's going to suppress your immune system. And then a night of drinking, having too many drinks, is going to suppress your immune system. So the times that I get sick are always after a brutal workout, a night of not sleeping, or a night of staying up late and having too many drinks. Right. Other than that, like I feel like I'm pretty resilient most of the time. All right. So when we get sick, we need to rest. And then also, in this idea of supporting the body's natural ability to heal, we want to think about rest as far as digestion goes. So I think it's a really good time, especially if you don't have much of an appetite anyway, to take advantage of fasting, and then when you do eat foods that are easy to digest. So that's why we always recommend some bone stock. I like to do bone stock with egg yolks stirred into it, mixed into it with some melted butter and some bone marrow. Something like that. It's going to be great. Collagen's super beneficial, very, very easy to digest. So you could do like bone stock throughout the day as you're sick, with some egg yolks and some collagen and some bone marrow if you got access to bone marrow. And then when you do eat, just think about eating foods that are easy to digest, right? Taking things like NyQuil and DayQuil and those things, like they're not fixing anything, so they're not medicine. They are suppressing symptoms. So sometimes if you got to do it, you got to do it. If you got to show up and be at work and or go somewhere to some family event and you just need to function, I could understand someone taking something like that, but it's not really fixing anything. It's just, you know, prolonging like your suffering just a little bit. So, I don't know. I think that's really the majority of what I wanted to say as far as when you get sick. Now, there are some supplements that we see to be beneficial. All right, we've taken out this whole elaborate protocol and we have boiled it down to some things that seem to work. All right, so I do recommend that everyone takes vitamin C regularly, and anywhere from 500 milligrams per day up to 2 grams per day. We used to recommend the Vitamin C's Foundation's powder, but now I'm a big fan of Biotics. Where is it? I think it's called BioC Plus. It's 500 milligrams. It's actually got cofactors, some bioflavonoids and stuff that make it easier to assimilate. I take that, 1 capsule of that every day, and I love it. So let me know if you'd like some of that. I can get it for you, or just you can get it on Amazon or whatever. Taking vitamin C most days, and then when you get sick, you can experiment with some high dose, like maybe 5 grams at a time. You got to be careful. Some people have a very sensitive bowel tolerance to that. But that might be beneficial. We've seen some immune boosting effects from that. And then also, if you are prone to getting upper respiratory infections or just having difficulty breathing when you're sick, try reduced glutathione. All right, reduced glutathione. I'll try to put some notes together for this. You can buy it at Whole Foods. I like the Jarro's brand. You can get it on Amazon, most health food stores, but reduced glutathione has this bronchulator, vasodilation effect, and also we see it to be beneficial for people that have asthma and stuff like that. All right, and then if you catch it early enough, this is something that we've done over the years, you can take these zinc lozenges. I try to keep them stocked in the office. This is enhanced zinc lozenges by Life Extension, and these are zinc acetate lozenges. So what's important to understand about these is that it's not the zinc per se that's beneficial about these, it's the zinc acetate. So what happens is when the flu or cold virus gets into our system, it replicates in the back of the throat and the nasal passage right there, right? So if we can consume something regularly that destroys what's happening back there, then there's less of a chance of it progressing into something worse. So the key is you have to catch it right when you start to feel that little tickle or that itch. It's actually right at that denial point. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're starting to get it and you're like, oh my God, am I getting sick? You kind of like know that you are, but you don't want to admit that you are, and you're trying to push through it. If you can catch it at that point, and the protocol would be to suck on one of these lozenges until they dissolve. Don't chew it up and eat it, because again, the benefit of it is it's killing what's back there in the back of the throat. And that should usually take maybe about 20 minutes, and you're doing one of these every hour, I think it is, or maybe every 2 hours. I can't remember. I have to look it up. I can share where the resource where I got it from is Chris Masterjohn's cold and flu protocols. And but if you can catch it right then, and you're sucking on these zinc lozenges once every 1 or 2 hours until your symptoms go away, I mean, we've seen a lot of great success from that, right? I just, you know, when that happened to me this year, I totally forgot about it. Now, also, from a symptom standpoint, you know, I'm not a huge believer in essential oils and doing anything to cure anything, but I do believe in essential oils for symptoms, right? So something really popular is going to be the Breathe essential oil. Okay, so Breathe, a respiratory thing you diffuse, you can rub between your hands, cup it, you know, put it, take deep breaths in, and it can open up your air passageways. It smells really good anyway. So Breathe is good for respiratory type stuff. And then if you have digestive issues, like just like the stomach pains or diarrhea, you can take Digestin. And personally, seen a lot of great results with that, like just feeling better from it. And just a lot of good feedback from clients. So, and then also if you're having like headaches and pain, I think doTERRA's Past Tense is really great. You can rub this, it's a roller ball, you can rub it on the back of your neck or in the areas of pain, and that's going to be some really big help. And then peppermint's also great for the digestive system and for headaches, right? So those are tried and true, right? They're not going to prevent anything, they're not going to cure anything, they're not going to fix anything, but they can help to mitigate or alleviate some of the symptoms, okay? Oh, I think that's everything that I wanted to say on colds and flus. I mean, again, there's not a silver bullet. The silver bullet is being healthy all year long, so that when you come to cold and flu season, if you get something, it just doesn't take you down that long or as often. And then once you get sick, you got to rest. Everybody wants to come here and push through workouts, and you're actually doing more harm than good, and you're contaminating other people. And as much as we all love to work out so much, we just have to take a break and rest. And then once you're sick, just think about ease of digestion, resting as much as you can until you get through it. If you catch it early enough, you can try some of these supplements, but all year long, you're just trying to eat nutrient-dense food and get a lot of sleep and stuff like that, all right? I don't want to keep saying that over and over and over. All right, so the next question was from Mindy, and it was something about fasting. Let me see what she had said. She said, how do I feel about intermittent fasting versus a 3-day fast versus 5-day fast and all that kind of stuff? First of all, I like to call fast by the hours of duration, because intermittent fasting is a very vague term, and all it really means is that you're sporadically, haphazardly fasting. It doesn't say anything about durations. I know that most people associate it with like a 16-hour or 18-hour fast, but I prefer just saying like a 16-hour fast or a 24-hour fast or a 48-hour fast or something like that, just to keep things clear so we know, what we're talking about. But I think I understand what you're saying. I know Peter Attia has gone from his once a quarter 5-day thing to once a month 3 days or something along those lines. And I think the bottom line is you just need to experiment and always be pushing the boundaries. All right. So there was a pretty significant amount of time last year where every Monday we had what we called Nunday Monday. And on Nunday Monday, everyone that wanted to join joined in, and you would just fast as long as you can. So most of us that are relatively veteran-ish, would make it a couple of days, 48 hours. And I tried to at least once a month go 5 days. Usually I get at least 3 days, 3 to 5 days. And it really wasn't that big a deal for me. This is not something that we'd recommend people that are brand new to this try, by the way, right? I don't want people to get this idea that like not eating is necessarily helpful unless you're like really habituated to eating real food and you feel really, really good. Then you can experiment with this kind of stuff. But in the context of being 100% real food and feeling very comfortable with it and experimenting with low carb and cleanse and all the different little protocols we learned in the masterclass and beyond, then fasting is great. It's awesome, right? Now, if your question is like, how do we know how to maximize the benefits of fasting? What durations do we want to do? I think because it's so unclear on what that specific number is, then we definitely just want to experiment and nudge the boundaries, right? If you read Dr. Fung's books, he's going to talk about if you can do a 7-day fast once, I think he says once a quarter, or no, 7-day fast once a year, that's enough to stave off cancer and all this other stuff. And then Peter Attia is coming out with this thing where he's doing a 3-day fast once a month, and there's everything in between, right? I think what's important is that you just meet this where you can, and it's more beneficial to be tinkering with it than not, and just keep experimenting with the duration. Right, and maybe have a goal of once a month. I like this idea that we came up with last year. Thank you, John Lombard, which is the Nunday Monday. And on the Nunday Monday of your choice, you're like, all right, I'm going to go as far as I can. And a lot of us would make it 5 days, no problem. And I think if you do 3 to 5 days here and there, once a month, a couple times a month, once a quarter, I think that's extremely helpful. But it is not, as it is secondary to our foundations of eating 100% fresh real food, nurturing self-sufficiency, getting adequate sleep and optimizing sleep, meditation and mindfulness, all our foundational principles. Fasting is secondary to that, right? We want to get that stuff completely dialed in, all right? Dun, 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 dun. Let's see, good, yep. Thank you. All right, cool. All right, and then the last question that I got, as far as I can tell, Pam had asked about iron and B12. What are the best sources of iron and B12? By the way, I have a lot of people that come to me and they are iron deficient, and we have a really, really good supplement for that. But sometimes, that also comes back to like a digestive issue, maybe a lifetime digestive issue. I remember I was iron deficient for years because for years I had taken acid blockers and proton pump inhibitors, which was shutting down my acid production in my stomach, which means that I was not digesting my meats and proteins. I was not assimilating minerals properly. And so I had some damage that took some time to undo, right? So it took years of eating real food, and then I was supplementing with desiccated liver taps and our iron supplement here, Epizyme. And so sometimes it's just a matter of undoing years and years, maybe even decades of damage, So, but the best sources of iron and B12, honestly, are animal meats in general. Like ground beef is one of the best ones. If you can get whole animals in, I think the top 3 would be, or top 4 maybe, organ meats like liver, and then sardines, beef, ground beef, and then shellfish like oysters and clams and things like that. Those are going to be your best natural sources of iron and B12. And then I personally, and we covered this in our strategic supplementation class that we did last year. I think you were there, Pam, but I can't remember. I every day take this B12 folate supplement. So I don't think there's anything wrong with taking B12 as a supplement in general. And so I take that most days, and then if you feel like you have an iron deficiency issue, you can experiment with taking our product Epizyme. We usually keep it stocked here in the office, and just monitor your blood work with your doctor. Okay. And I think that's everything that we got. Any other fasting? Boom. And working out. Okay. So Mindy's asking about fasting and working out. All right. So not really having any other context around that. You know, when you come through the masterclass, our second meeting, which is going to be next Saturday, we talk about working out and eating, right? So it is not, most of us would recommend training on an empty stomach because physiologically it's not optimal to be digesting food and inducing a self-induced emergency, right? Because that's really what a workout is, especially some of these brutal Metcons. I come in here and I do one of these brutal Metcons, it is an emergency. So when I'm in that emergency, my body's priority is not digesting food, right? So if I have food in my upper GI or my stomach, and then I come into a workout, now I'm asking my body to try to digest and to deal with this emergency at the same time, and it becomes less optimal at both things, right? So from a physiology standpoint, it's not beneficial because it's adding extra work when I'm trying to do some other work, right? Also, if I'm trying to optimize my performance as an athlete, I want the ultimate in metabolic flexibility, which means that when I come into a workout, I want my body to understand when to tap into fat stores, when to tap into my glycogen stores, which is my muscle sugar or liver sugar, and when to use my emergency response systems like norepinephrine and adrenaline and stuff like that, right? So when you go into a workout completely empty, then the body has to prioritize its own resources. If I go into a workout with branched chain amino acids or some kind of sugar or pre-workout protein drink or something like that, then now my body's getting some energy from that, and it's not able to prioritize its energy utilization in the workout, right? So we recommend fasting pre-workout, not taking pre-workouts. The only pre-workouts we've messed with is some energy type stuff, some stimulant stuff like a little bit of caffeine. And then Chris Masterjohn also had this really good article about taking collagen before workouts if you have some joint or ligament or tendon issues, because as your body's pumping blood through the system, it delivers it in the right places, and you don't use any of those amino acids for energy. So, but beyond that, like, we don't recommend taking anything pre-workout. We recommend fasting. If I, for whatever reason, take a noon class, I think that's the latest I usually go. I'll fast all the way up until the noon class and take it, and I actually feel better the more empty I am. I hope that's what you're asking about, fasting and working out. And then post-workout, of course, you can just eat intuitively. You know, just eat whatever you feel like, whenever you feel like, right? All right, so I think that's about everything. I don't see any other questions or snide remarks or smart-ass remarks from my guy crew there. And all right, awesome. So I plan on doing this every Friday at 10 a.m. And my goal is to just, or my vision for this is just to have questions throughout the week, you know, that we can kind of feed into this, and we're all learning from it. And we're all here participating to some degree. I think I just want to finish with, you know, I had some discussions with a couple people this week that are in this new masterclass and having a really difficult time. Well, first of all, we get people that are just like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. Like, you know, I've done exactly what you said. I'm losing weight. I feel great. And then we have just as many people that this is so completely new and foreign to them. It's such a challenge, right? And I hate to hear that. I hate to see people struggling and having a hard time with it. But we have to figure this out. All right, we have to figure this out. No matter where you're at, we're still figuring it out. This is a lifelong journey. So if not now, when? You know, like when you first come into this, there's going to be all these dynamics. You know, what we do is very simple, right? 3 meals a day, 100% real food. 2 meals a day, 100% real food. Restrict our carbohydrates till the evening. Make sure the real food come from real food sources, and we moderate the amounts. I mean, it couldn't be more simple and elegant. But we complicate things up in our minds because, number one, it's new and foreign to us, so that feels freaking crazy. Excuse me. And then, you know, once we do something, it feels a little bit more comfortable. But then also add to that, we have all these emotional, mental, emotional dynamics that we start to see about ourselves, right? So a lot of what's happening with the food piece and maybe not being as good with it as we want, it all has to do with our habituations and our cravings and our urges and our addictions, you know. And I think it's a beautiful thing to be engaged and try to work with that. I know for myself, like, I'm not perfect with things. I have my things that I deal with and work with. I'm better than I was last year. I'm better than I was 5 years ago. I'm better than I was 10 years ago. That's the goal, to strive to keep getting a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. But it's fascinating. I think there is no greater path or no greater work to be done than to be consciously engaged in life, consciously engaged in this process, understanding that you're not going to be perfect with it, but you want to strive for perfection so that you can learn from your suboptimal moments. Remember, there's never failure, there's only feedback. If I do something that isn't the right thing, I can't get too down about it. You know, I understand, I get it. Like, I have a night of whatever, overdoing, like we shot a video on, what was that we shot a video? Oh, swaps the other day, and I had some Siete chips in the house, and I knew it. I was going to take them back and get a refund, but I opened them up, and a couple of nights in a row, I had more than I wanted to, and I felt it. Like, I felt bloated, and of course, you can't help but get a little bit upset with yourself about when you do something suboptimal, but that shouldn't last very long, right? Because the goal is to get right back on it as soon as you can. Right? So I think the most important thing with what we have going on is to have this understanding. This is a lifelong journey. We're not going to be perfect with it. We want to strive for perfection and learn from our suboptimal moments. And we want to be easy about it. We want to practice love and kindness to ourselves. And we're just looking for these smaller increments of better. All right. You have to have this pre-commitment. Like right now, if you don't already have it, you have to have this pre-commitment to understand this is a lifelong journey and I'm going to fall off. And that's relative to everyone. And when I fall off, I'm just going to have this commitment to get right back on. What I don't understand is when people fall off and they stay off and they go and they're gone. And my heart hurts for them. We're trying to figure that out and figure out how to mitigate that. But you have to tell yourself right now, no matter what, no matter where you're at, when you fall off, you just have to get